I'd seen men sell horses with more dignity than what I witnessed that August afternoon in Deadwood. Two Lakota sisters, barely old enough to understand the word sold, standing on an auction block while monsters bid on their lives like they were furniture. The older one, Winona, had eyes that had already seen too much. The younger one, Tala, still had tears. I'd led cavalry raids that destroyed their people. I had blood on my hands that would never wash clean. But when that gavel came down and I heard $60, something inside me snapped. I pulled out every cent I owned, $200, 7 years of survival, and I bought their freedom. Except freedom on paper means nothing when bounty hunters come looking for property. They told me I was protecting something that didn't belong to me. They were right. These girls didn't belong to anyone. And I'd die before I let them be sold again. Ezra Thorne hadn't slept through a full night in 7 years. The whiskey helped some, but even drunk, he could still hear the screams. Lakota women clutching their children as soldiers dragged them from their lodges, fires consuming everything they'd built. He'd been the scout. He'd led the cavalry straight to them. Deadwood's main streets stank of horse manure and desperation in the August heat of 1883. Ezra pushed through the crowd outside the Gem Saloon, his boots crunching on dirt mixed with yesterday's rain. He'd come for supplies, nothing more. The town had a way of reminding him what men were capable of when nobody was watching. The noise hit him first, rough laughter and the auctioneer's voice cutting through the afternoon air. Ezra stopped. Through the saloon's side window he saw them, two Lakota girls, maybe 10 and 12 years old, standing on a wooden platform. Their traditional dresses were torn and filthy. The younger one gripped her sister's hand so tightly her knuckles had gone white. $50 for the pair, a fat man in a beaver hat shouted, tobacco juice staining his beard. Ezra's chest tightened. The older girl's eyes swept the room with the same hollow stare he'd seen 7 years ago. She was already dead inside. The younger one still had tears. 60! Another voice. His hands trembled. Not again. Not while he still had breath. The auctioneer, a weasel-faced man named Dalton, raised his gavel. Going once for 60. 200. Ezra's voice cut through the room like a blade. Every head turned. Dalton's grin widened, showing 3 gold teeth. Well now, Mr. Thorne enters the bidding. $200, cash. Ezra walked forward, pulling the leather pouch from his coat. 7 years of savings, every cent he'd scraped together working claims and hauling freight. His entire future in his palm. The room went silent. Nobody counted. Dalton brought the gavel down. Sold. The bill of sale felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds in Ezra's pocket. He'd bought human beings, put a price on children's lives. The irony wasn't lost on him. He'd freed them by purchasing them, perpetuating the very system that had stolen their freedom. Outside the saloon, he knelt before the girls. Up close, he could see the bruises on their arms, the fear carved into their young faces. The older one positioned herself protectively in front of her sister, jaw set with defiance he recognized. She'd fight if she had to. "I'm not going to hurt you," Ezra said quietly. He knew some Lakota words from his scouting days, words that burned his tongue now. Waste. Good. Maka. Earth. Nothing that mattered. The younger girl whispered something in Lakota. Her sister shushed her sharply. "You speak English?" Ezra asked the older one. She stared at him with those ancient eyes. Finally, some. "What are your names?" Silence. Then, barely audible, "I am Winona. This is Tala." Winona. Firstborn daughter, Tala Wolf. Their mother had given them strong names. "My name is Ezra. I have a cabin on the edge of town. You'll stay there tonight. Tomorrow we figure out what comes next." "You paid for us." Winona's English was better than she'd first let on. "We belong to you now." The words gutted him. "No, you don't belong to anyone. That paper is—" He stopped. How could he explain that the law protecting them was the same law that had destroyed their people? "You're free. But free doesn't mean safe. Not here. As they walked through Deadwood's muddy streets, Ezra felt eyes following them. A white man with 2 Indian children. He'd made himself a target, and he knew it. His cabin sat a half-mile past the last flophouse, tucked against a stand of ponderosa pines. It wasn't much. 1 room, a stone fireplace, a table he'd built himself. But it was clean. He'd kept it clean because empty rooms got dirty with ghosts otherwise. "There's bread and dried meat," he said, pointing to the larder. "Water from the pump outside. I'll sleep by the fire. You take the bed." Winona didn't move. "Why did you buy us?" The question he'd been dreading. Ezra sat heavily on the wooden chair, suddenly exhausted. "Because 7 years ago, I did something I can't take back. I helped the cavalry find Lakota camps. I led them straight to families who'd done nothing wrong." He met her eyes. "I can't undo what I did, but I can do this." 3 days passed. Winona remained watchful and silent, speaking only to Tala in rapid Lakota. The younger girl began to relax slightly. She'd smiled once when Ezra showed her how to pump water, though Winona had immediately pulled her away. Trust, Ezra knew, couldn't be bought or forced. It had to be earned. On the 4th morning, trouble arrived. Ezra was splitting firewood when he saw them, 2 riders coming up the path. He recognized the lead man immediately. Cooper Hayes, a bounty hunter who worked for wealthy clients looking to recover property. The man beside him was younger, nervous, constantly touching his gun. Ezra set down the axe and walked to meet them, positioning himself between the riders and the cabin. Behind him, he heard the door crack open. Winona was watching. "Ezra Thorne." Hayes tipped his hat mockingly. "Heard you made quite a purchase at the Gem." "Heard wrong. I freed 2 children. That's not how Mr. Dalton sees it." Hayes leaned forward in his saddle. "Seems his partner, Mr. Brennan, had a prior claim on those girls. He's willing to pay you $300 for them. That's $100 profit for a few days' trouble." "Not interested." "Figured you'd say that." Hayes smiled without warmth. "Which is why Mr. Brennan gave me authorization to recover his property by any means necessary. I'm giving you 1 chance to hand them over, peaceful-like." Ezra's hand moved to his hip, where his old service revolver sat. He hadn't drawn it in anger since leaving the cavalry, but his fingers remembered the weight. "You're not taking them." The younger man's hand twitched toward his gun. Hayes held up a hand, stopping him. "We'll be back, Thorne, and we won't be asking nice." Hayes yanked his reins, wheeling his horse around. "You're protecting property that doesn't belong to you. Think about what that's worth." After they left, Ezra stood in the yard, heart hammering. Behind him, Winona spoke quietly. "They will come back. I know. Why do you fight for us? You are 1 man." Ezra turned to face her. For the first time, her expression held something other than suspicion. It held a question that mattered. "Because I'm 1 man who chose wrong before. I'm choosing different now." They came at dusk, just as Ezra had known they would. 5 men this time, Hayes, the nervous kid, and 3 others with the hard eyes of men who'd killed before. Ezra had spent the afternoon preparing. He'd sent Winona and Tala to hide in the root cellar beneath the cabin floor, given Winona his spare revolver, and shown her how to use it. "Only if they get past me," he'd told her. She'd nodded, understanding what he wasn't saying. There was a good chance he wouldn't survive this. Now he stood in his doorway, rifle across his chest, watching them approach. The sun was setting behind the black hills, painting the sky the color of blood. Hayes rode at the front. "Last chance, Thorne. Walk away. Let us collect what's owed." "Nothing's owed. Those girls aren't property." "Everything's property if you got the right paperwork." Hayes gestured to one of his men, who produced a document. Bill of sale from before Dalton's auction. Brennan had legal claim first. Forged. Ezra didn't need to see it. Dalton would have mentioned a prior claim. "Does it matter?" Hayes dismounted, his men following. You're 1 against 5. You used to be cavalry. You know how this math works." Ezra did know. The math said he should lose. But math didn't account for what a man would do when he'd finally found something worth dying for. "I can't let you past," he said quietly. Hayes sighed. "Then you're a fool." The first shot came from the nervous kid, panicked, wild, hitting the doorframe 3 feet to Ezra's left. Ezra's return shot was deliberate, aimed low, taking the kid in the thigh. He went down screaming. Then everything happened at once. Ezra dropped behind the water trough as bullets chewed into the wood. He returned fire, methodical, making every shot count. 1 man went down, then another. Hayes dove behind his horse, cursing. The fight lasted maybe 90 seconds, though it felt like hours. When the smoke cleared, 3 men were wounded. 1 was dead, and Hayes was on his horse, retreating at full gallop with whoever could still ride. Ezra sagged against the trough, blood running from a graze across his shoulder. Not bad. He'd live. The cabin door opened. Winona emerged, still holding the revolver, Tala clinging to her dress. "Is it finished?" Winona asked. Ezra shook his head. "They'll be back, or others will come. We need to leave Deadwood." They traveled north for 3 weeks, moving mostly at night, avoiding towns. Ezra had sold everything he couldn't carry, the cabin, his tools, his books. The money would buy them time and distance. Somewhere in the Montana Territory, as they camped beside a creek that reminded him of better days, Tala spoke to him for the first time. Just 2 words. "Thank you." It broke something inside him that had been held together with wire and guilt for 7 years. Winona watched him cry with those old eyes. "You cannot bring back what was taken," she said, "from us or from you. I know, but you can be here now." In Billings, Ezra found a Lakota family, distant cousins of the girls, living on the reservation's edge. They were wary at first, but Winona spoke rapidly in Lakota, and something shifted. The family's grandmother, her face a map of sorrows, looked at Ezra for a long moment. "You saved them," she said in English. "I just did what I should have done before." The grandmother took his hand. "The past cannot be unmade, but every right choice is a thread toward healing." Ezra stayed 3 days, helping repair their roof, fetching supplies from town. On the morning he was set to leave, Winona approached him. "Will you visit?" Something in his chest loosened. "If you'll have me." "We will." She hesitated then. "You are not what you were. You are what you chose to become." Ezra left before dawn, riding south toward nothing in particular. He had no home now, no money to speak of, no future he could name. But for the first time in 7 years, when he closed his eyes, he didn't hear screaming. He heard Tala's voice, "Thank you," and it was enough.